Welcome to Finding Family DNA, the show about finding and connecting birth families, with your host, Jay Rosenzweig, founder and CEO of BirthParentFinder.com. And now, here's Jay.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Finding Family DNA. This is our RootsTech episode, RootsTech 2026. As you can see, Misty Gillis is not here today. We have Jarrett Ross.
Hello, everybody.
Jarrett is so well known in this circle, and he had to run to get here to do this because every time he runs through the exhibit hall, he gets stopped by everyone because he's so well known. And but I want you, first of all, I want everyone, as I say this every time we do a show, press that subscribe button, because if you don't, we miss out on the opportunity to support our pro bono cases. And we do a lot of pro bono, and the money we raise from the YouTube advertising really supports our pro bono. And Jarrett knows more than anything because he has so many subscribers on YouTube, and he is the Genealogy, and I hope I pronounced that right.
Genealogy, I do either way.
So Jarrett, and I specifically wanted Jarrett to be here today because he is so energetic about genealogy, DNA, and this entire industry and RootsTech. So first of all, Jarrett, thanks so much for being here. And I know you live outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, and I've been there. It's a great community. And tell us about how you got started in this industry.
Well, I'll start with my first interest in genealogy, and that actually was when I was 8 years old. I went to my cousin's bar mitzvah, and my uncle had printed out our family line tracing back to the 1600s. And my little 8-year-old mind was just like... So I got into it then, and I got the Family Tree Maker software. I got Family Tree Magazine. Back then, that was in the 90s, so I'd ordered a bunch of Ancestry CDs. They had the databases on CDs. Few years in and out, but then when I was in college, that's when I became obsessed with it. And I started to find thousands of my relatives all across the world. And it wasn't until 2017, I think over 20 years of doing genealogy, before I decided I'm going to do this professionally.
And doing it professionally, you do it well.
Thank you.
And I got to tell everyone, he's so well respected in this industry. And that's hard to get. It really is. And this is RootsTech. And when did you start coming here?
My first RootsTech was in 2019. So I think this is my 6th in person. And I think technically it's like my 8th total because of the 2 virtual years. Something like that.
This was 2019 was my first year. Oh, so I did 2019 with a booth, 2020 with a booth, and then we had COVID. And then I came back 3 years ago. And last year we met for the first time with Misty. And obviously she couldn't be here. She'll be here again next year. And everyone says, Jay, you got to have a class to do a presentation. And you've done how many?
I've done 2 so far. Well, 2 for this year. I'm done with tons.
So you were on a panel, you moderated a panel on Thursday morning, and I did go to that. I've only been to 2 presentations. I don't have time to go to all of these because I'm representing the media. Yeah. And I did a focus group the other day. Mm-hmm. They hire an outside company to bring in people to talk about their experience at RootsTech. And I said the best one was your YouTube seminar.
Oh, thank you very much.
It was great. You were with Connie Knox, Amy Cross, and who was the other person?
Amy Johnson Crow.
And Amy John, 2 Amy's.
2 Amy's.
Right. And these are well-known YouTubers, and we all do a phenomenal job. So RootsTech 2026, next year be 2027, and it's probably not going to be in this facility for the whole thing because they're remodeling. They're remodeling this. And the thing is, they don't really know what venue they're going to use. They're remodeling probably for the Olympics in 2034, I believe.
Yeah, I saw they're doing that. They have the Olympics, they have the Paralympics coming.
Right. And anyway, I know our audience is into genealogy, they're into DNA, and obviously the show is Finding Family DNA, but really you should come to Salt Lake City. It's usually the first week in March. I don't know when it is next year. And it's only like $100 for 3 days. $100 for a 3-day conference. You can't go wrong. And I was very fortunate to get a chance to interview Marlee Matlin on Thursday.
Oh, very cool.
So what I want to do right now, we don't have much time because RootsTech is so nice to us. They set this up for us with this backdrop, and we're just looking at the whole setup of this. There's 350 vendors here, exhibitors, and there's probably, what do you think, Jared, 20,000 people here?
That's the number I'd heard, is over 20,000 in person and then millions online.
Right. You did a webinar online for
what was the topic?
Yeah, I did a webinar online about the records of the Portuguese Jews of Amsterdam.
So getting back to Marlee Matlin, she was the opening keynote, and I was very fortunate to get a chance to interview her. So I want to play a really quick clip of what Marlee had to say. She had an interpreter. She used sign language. And there's a really quick clip of what Marlee had to say. And then that's followed up by my quick interview with her. I asked her a question. So let's play the clip of Marlee and then my interview with her.
We need archivists and genealogists trained to recognize biases in historical records. We need community partnerships with marginalized groups to ensure that histories are preserved respectfully.
What is your message to the younger generation on keeping the hope? The deaf kids growing up, giving them hope, and there's something out there for them.
I want deaf kids not to be forgotten. And by that I mean, I want them to have the opportunity to be included in everything, whatever is happening out there, whether they're talking about schools or whatever it is, that they need to be included. Whatever is available out there in terms of careers, in terms of whatever it is. Say, for example, they want to go to college, they want to pursue an education, anything, everything. Even to come to something like this, to learn about their family trees. We need to keep them included. We need to know and learn and pass it along to them. Talking about whatever it is, whether it has to do with their religious upbringing. It's the number one thing that I want to talk about is that there is a problem for deaf kids is language deprivation. That's simple as that. I think that's the biggest problem. Every family needs to understand whether they are with just one deaf family member or more. Language deprivation is a huge, huge barrier. And a lot of times, deaf kids in hearing families are from families that speak other languages, not necessarily in English. And that's a big problem too. They're just not clued in to how important it is to deal with their deaf child through language. It's a multi-language problem. They're not given enough resources in how to communicate with their deaf child. There's so much lost time, and the kids lose out on this time to absorb language while they grow up, while they're in school. Oftentimes they don't even know where to go to school, where to work. So when I talk about learning things, as I grew up by seeing things, by reading things. You guys have the opportunity to hear things. We don't. So the most important thing is to be able to keep the lines of communication open, to keep deaf kids in the know.
This is Jay Rosenzweig, the founder and CEO of BirthParentFinder.com. Sometimes the missing piece of your life is a person you've never met. For over 2 decades, our team of expert investigators and genealogists at BirthParentFinder.com has relied on the power of DNA and genetic genealogy to reconnect thousands of families separated by time, distance, and circumstance. Visit BirthParentFinder.com and begin your journey today. Your family isn't lost, it's waiting to be found. So Marlee is so inspiring, and we do have mutual connections, and she was so nice to actually talk to me with her voice. And I was told that she does read lips, so without her interpreter, I was talking to her, and she is from a town right next to where I grew up, and she actually knew of my parents. She knew of my parents' bakery in Skokie, Illinois, and she's friends with my friends who have 2 deaf children, and she helped my friend get through something he was going through a long time ago when he found out his child was deaf. And Marlee is just an amazing person. Did you get a chance to meet her?
I didn't get a chance to meet her, but I did see her.
Yeah. So Jarrett, you worked with an organization called IGG. What is that?
Yes, so IGG is Investigative Genetic Genealogy. A lot of people also call it FIG, Forensic Investigative Genetic Genealogy. And it's the use of genetic genealogy to solve cold case crimes such as unidentified human remains and violent perpetrators. So it's the type of work that Misty does, the type of work that CC Moore does. And it was something I did for about 5 years, and I worked for a company called DNA Labs International, based out of Deerfield Beach, Florida. They're actually the ones who are working on the Nancy Guthrie case, for anyone interested in that. Not sure when this will come out, so there might be more news.
This week.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it should be still a hot topic probably. But yeah, I did that, and it was very rewarding work. That's for sure.
So segue into the Nancy Guthrie case. We did talk to Misty about that. She's done interviews. CC Moore's done interviews. And you did tell me something the other day about the DNA that was interesting. What are your thoughts about what the tainted DNA, whether it actually can be used? And do you actually know what they're using?
So with the DNA, I don't know all of the details because I only know what's been released. I don't work for the company anymore. It's not like I get insider secrets. But knowing how everything works, I have an idea of what could possibly be going on. I know that there was a glove found. They've done DNA testing on that, and they were able to get what's called an autosomal STR. Basically, that's what the courts use and have used for many, many years for DNA standards in law. And they use that to upload to what's known as CODIS, the Combined DNA Index System. I always have to try to think about that. And that's run by the FBI. It's a national database where basically anyone that's ever had their DNA taken by law enforcement, they're in there. And so with that autosomal STR, hopefully I'm not getting too jargony with this.
That's okay.
They can do a comparison and figure out if that person is already in CODIS, so then they'd be able to identify them, or they can sometimes get what's called a first-degree relative. That just means a parent, a child, or a sibling, someone who's just 1 degree of separation. Consanguinity, for anyone who knows that jargony word. So they did that, and then they didn't get any hits from CODIS. So the next step would then be possibly doing genetic genealogy. But the thing is that there's also other DNA from the crime scene. So they technically have not fully exhausted what they can do through CODIS. So my understanding, they found DNA at the house, that it was a mixture, which they can actually work with mixtures, both for that autosomal STR I was talking about, as well as the type of DNA testing we do for genetic genealogy, which is a whole different ballgame called autosomal SNP testing. So you have STRs and SNPs. I won't go too into detail about that. That'll take forever. It'll take up the whole video. But with the house sample that they tested, they said that the mixture, but one thing that nobody's really mentioned, or at least no one that I've seen has mentioned, is often when they're doing swabs of a house, of a crime scene, they're not just doing one swab. They're doing multiple swabs, and those swabs are also usually broken up depending on where they're taken. So an example might be, let's say there was something on the door that they thought, you know what, we need to do testing on the door. So swab 1A, the top of the door handle. Swab 1B, the bottom of the door handle. Swab 2A, the side of the door. Swab 2B, the front of the, so when we talk about the mixture, that might be only one of the samples they've tested. And so they might be trying to test some of the other samples because certain parts of that door, the door handle, that's going to have a lot of people who've touched it. So
it's probably, in my mind, doing fingerprint cases years ago, you have 50 fingerprints on a doorknob, it doesn't help you. But with the DNA, the perp was wearing gloves. So how does, wearing gloves, you're not going to get the DNA of that perpetrator from that doorknob. And most likely, if that glove was the perp's glove, that would help. But they haven't even confirmed that was the perp's glove, have they?
Yeah, so my understanding, the glove was found near enough to the crime scene that they felt that it was connected, especially because they had that video and they said it looked like it was the same type of glove. I'm sure one thing they will do with the house sample is that they're going to compare that glove to the house sample and see, is that the same, is the same person that had that glove in any of these samples. So with the mixtures, they can actually work with it. They do what's called deconvolution. That's just taking a mixture of DNA and being able to separate it into the individual profiles. And they can do this both for STRs. They use a system called STR Mix, or what's called Star Mix. And they can do that to do the deconvolution, but they can also do that to do what's called probabilistic genotyping. More jargony words for all of you. And probabilistic genotyping is just looking at a mixture of DNA and figuring out what's the probability that this one person, so let's say the DNA from the glove, is one of the people that is part of that mixture. So if we assume there's 3 people that are in the mixture, what's the probability that that person's one of those 3? So with that, they can actually get a lot from it, and hopefully they'll be able to get that in a CODIS. They might be able to get a hit, but if they exhaust all of that DNA with CODIS, that's when it'll lead to genetic genealogy.
And that's why I brought you here, Jarrett, because I really wanted to talk about that, because you probably know that better than most people at this conference, in my opinion.
Yeah, for the investigative genetic genealogists that work in the field, very few have had the opportunities that I've had through DNA Labs International to really learn the forensic side and the lab side as much. As far as I know, there's really only 2 main labs, I could be wrong about this, that do investigative genetic genealogy work, as well as do full DNA work on forensics in an accredited way. So they're ANAB accredited. I don't remember all of it. It's like ISO, FBI accreditation. But the big thing is that they have the accreditation to be able to do proper chain of custody with evidence, to handle everything properly. They do the extractions of the DNA. They do the analyzing of the DNA. They do a variety of DNA testing as well. So I really got to learn that. And only the genealogists that have worked at DNA Labs International and Bodhi have really gotten that, because those are the only 2 companies that have that whole encompassing, as far as I understand.
So I'm going to segue, because I did get a chance to interview the VP of products at MyHeritage, Ran Sneer. Do you know Ran?
Yes.
And I just interviewed him just a little while ago.
Very cool.
And I didn't go into why you can't upload anymore.
Yeah.
But what I did talk to him about was why people would use MyHeritage. And I want to play that clip of that interview I did with Ran Sneer, the VP of products at MyHeritage. I'm going to play that now. I'm very fortunate today to be here with Ran Sneer, who's the VP of products at MyHeritage. And Ran, tell me why someone would want to buy a MyHeritage DNA kit.
Well, I think that what's unique about us, I'd say 2 things. So our database includes people from all over the world. We're a very global company. We have just celebrated that our website is now translated into 50 different languages. So people from all over the world are coming to do genealogy and genetic genealogy on MyHeritage, and they'll buy our DNA kits all around the world. So be prepared to be amazed by meeting cousins we probably haven't heard about it from various parts around the world. And also I think our suite of tools for doing genetic genealogy and genealogy in general is kind of the best, I think, that is out there.
Also, the genome is the whole genome. Can you explain that to my audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So last November, we have officially announced at the end of November that all samples that are now coming into our lab are going through whole genome sequencing. Think about, like, up till then, we were looking at very specific areas of your genome, about 700,000 SNPs, which is a very small portion of the entire genome. What we're doing now when we're getting your samples is that we're going over the entire genome. We're scanning all of it. So we're getting all the data points, which makes our test, I think, the most robust.
And how many entries are in your database?
I think we have crossed the 9 million people now that are on MyHeritage. Yeah,
and
big.
If your ancestors are all from Eastern Europe, you would recommend taking a MyHeritage test, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I think, again, because we are very, very global. So we have a lot of people. We have people and who are using MyHeritage from all sorts of countries, many areas around the world, especially also from Eastern Europe. So if you have ancestry that goes back to Europe, Eastern as well, we will most likely have some of your family members who have tested, some of the lost cousins you've never heard about. So MyHeritage is a great place to be. Yeah.
And I want to end this by saying, if it wasn't for MyHeritage, my brother would not have found our third cousin once removed, Joel Elias Spingarn, who was one of the founding members of the NAACP.
There you go.
I want to thank MyHeritage for that.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ran. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Jay.
You're welcome. So that was my interview with Ran Sneer. I didn't really get into why you can't upload to like GEDmatch and all these other databases from MyHeritage. I think that stopped about, what, a year ago maybe?
I don't even think it was that. I think it was a few months ago. Oh, yeah. But it was very recently.
It was after the Kohlberger case, but I didn't want to mention that. But the VP of products at MyHeritage said that if there will be a special for my audience, if you want to buy a MyHeritage kit, I don't know what that special is, but if you comment in the comments and you want to buy a MyHeritage kit, I will let you know the special price. I don't know what that is now. I don't even know what the regular price is, but we'll let you know. MyHeritage is a great product, but I also want to play another clip. I promised this guy I'd do a little commercial for him. He's a really nice guy. His name is Jeffrey Stern. Jeffrey Stern has a product called Voice Gift. By the way, that's his URL, voice.gift. And it's a really cool product. It's this little remote, and it's a recorder, and you can record your photos with the person who is in the photo telling their story. And this is a little clip of Jeffrey Stern talking about voice gift. I'm very fortunate today to have met Jeffrey Stern, who has a company called Voice Gift. And I went to his booth yesterday, and it was very nice meeting him and his family. Promised Jeffrey that I'd let him talk about his product. And Jeffrey, I had a chance to use it last night, and it's really cool. I really like it. So why don't you tell our audience what your product is all about?
Great. Well, Jay, you all remember when you used to go to museums and they put headphones on you and you walked around with a little digital recorder and you saw a number next to a masterpiece. You would enter the number and you'd hear the curator talking about that photo or that sculpture and really giving meaning to it. So we created a play device so that you can do that at home. The difference is, here you not only press a number to listen, you can press a number to record. So what that means is if you have, like we all do, a shoebox full of photos, you pull a photo out and grandma starts gushing with memories because photos and tactile objects are such a trigger for memories. And all you do is you enter 55, say, on the device, you record everything that she says, then you take a pencil and you write 55 behind that photo, or if it's in a photo book, to the side of it. And every time somebody sees that photo and presses 55 on the play device, they're gonna hear the memories, the audio, the voice associated with it. And you know, Jay, science shows that voice and audio and music is the most powerful trigger for emotions and for memories. And so what we've included inside of this little box, you don't need a subscription, you don't have to put unsightly QR codes, you don't have to have an app. All you need is a voice and a pencil.
So where would one find that?
So you can go to our website. It's called voice.gift. There's no .com, no .net. It's www.voice.gift. You can also find it on Amazon. And if you're at the show, come visit us.
Great. Is this your first time at RootsTech?
It's first time at RootsTech. What a wonderful crowd of people, passionate people about memories and about legacy.
Great. And welcome to RootsTech, and thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, we're back with Jarrett Ross, and you heard from Voice Gift, and I promised them I'd do that little segment for them. Anyway, Jarrett, we're going to end this by a couple things. One, let's talk about this conference, RootsTech. Why is this conference so important to you?
For me, it's one of the best places to network, to learn about what's the newest technology, and to see what the genealogy community is going towards, what's the future. And you can kind of get an inkling of it. And I remember, a few years ago when AI was really getting big and you could feel more and more classes. And this year we have so many AI sessions that are just packed full. So, getting to see what's the newest technology and getting to actually work with the other genealogists to help figure out how to take that even further. But I think the biggest thing is really that networking, getting to hang out, getting to just enjoy it. And, I always like to say that for people that have gone to other genealogy conferences but have never gone to RootsTech, it's a whole different animal. And this is much more like Comic-Con meets a genealogy conference.
Good way to look at that. And it's like I said, it's not expensive to come here. You may have to pay for a flight, a hotel room, but it'd be $99 for 3 days. And I was in that focus group I was in. One guy was saying he was in a 3-hour seminar last week. And that 3-hour seminar was $400.
Wow.
Yeah. I think he was a lawyer, but still, it's like, and you know what? I do get continuing education credits from coming here by being a member of APG, Association of Professional Genealogists.
Yes.
Now, I am not a professional genealogist, but I am a member because I have a genealogy-based company with my fantastic genealogist, Misty Gillis. And again, Jarrett, how do people find you?
So people can find me on YouTube at Genie Vlogger or Genia Vlogger. It's spelled GeneaVlogger. I always like to say just stop spelling genealogy halfway and then add vlogger. They can find me there. I actually just launched a new website, www.genievlogger.com. And that website, I actually offer consultations. I'm going to start offering webinars. I'm hoping to actually put courses on there that people can get as well. So if people do want to have my help with their own genealogy, of course, I specialize in genetic genealogy, but I specialize in Jewish genealogy as well, and have been able to work on a lot of different genealogies. But as well, I'm on all the social medias, obviously YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, watch those videos, and smash that like button. And also on Facebook, I'm on, well, I'm not really active, but I'm on X and Blue Sky.
Yeah, I don't like either one of them. So,
And then I think the one that I'd really want to push people to try out is Discord.
okay.
I have a Discord, and that's something that a lot of genealogists, I think, don't realize is where the young genealogy crowd is.
Yeah, and it is a crowd for older people that you're trying to get younger. And you're young. You're probably, I don't know if you're half my age. I didn't want to ask his age, but again, we have to wrap this up because Steve Young is coming to speak to the media in about 2 minutes. But again, subscribe to Finding Family DNA, and we're just so glad you were able to join us. And our next episode is going to drop in 2 weeks, and that's another crazy, heartwarming adoption reunion story. Again, thank you for following and subscribing to Find Family DNA, and thank Jarrett Ross for being here today.
Thank you very much, everybody.